Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections, and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today on Expedition Networking, we have Dean Curry, the famous Dean Curry of Curry and Associates. I have known Dean's laughing now. I've known Dean for a long time, since 1999, since last century, right? We met.
Right. Yeah.
I remember, and Dean's been a member of AmSpirit, and this is going to be a fun conversation because he's got what I think is an interesting story of somebody who was we'll call a corporate refugee. But one of the earliest memories I have of you, Dean, is having this long involved conversation with you before what we call an AmSpirit area-wide event now. And we were both talking on cell phones and then realized we were in the same parking lot. I think it was at 95th Aero Squadron. So I was having this long conversation with you about your chapter. And then it's like, oh, we're in the same damn parking lot. We could have literally gone in and had a Coke or something and had the conversation. So anyhow, I appreciate you taking the time to be on. I want to kick it off. I really want you to share your story. You had a corporate job, and then that led into this self-employment thing, where you went from having a job, having income, to having nothing, and then, keep continuing to build. So,
yeah. Well, thanks for having me on. And yeah, it has been a while. And I would want to go back. It wasn't the phones that we actually had to take to the store to have them built into our car. Was it that long ago?
No, it wasn't that long ago.
Okay, just actual.
But I think we had to pay per minute. It was that long ago.
Okay, all right.
You're
just
right, like, okay, I got to end this call. It's 25 cents a minute.
Yeah, so I born and raised in Columbus, and my family is still here. My sister live up in Dublin, and her family. And I went to the Ohio University down in Athens, where I basically, being in Columbus, grow up. I was literally born at University Hospital at Ohio State. And so I've lived in the shadow of it forever. And while I bleed scarlet and gray, for college, I just wanted to go far enough away that if I had to get home, I could, but I didn't have to come home every weekend. So I remember showing my mom the mailbox at my dorm saying, I know my laundry's not going to fit in here, so I got to figure it out for myself. And I think she was very happy about that. So graduated from OU. I have a Bachelor of Science, a BS, which people that know me know that that's perfect for me, of communications. And my specialty was in radio and television. And remember getting out of college, OU was a great school for communication. And I got a call. I actually got a job offer from CNN right out of college. And I'm like, CNN, this is going to be amazing. And they said, now adjusted for inflation, I don't know what the current dollars are, but back in 87, they wanted to pay me $12,000 a year. Now, this, CNN's 24-hour station, the new guy is not going to get the 9 to 5 shift.
Right.
He's going to get the midnight to 8 a.m. shift. So I had to move to Atlanta, find a place to live. Long story short, it didn't happen. I said, I'm not willing to upend my life, move there, just whatever. And basically, I probably shouldn't say this on this podcast, but I got involved in the world's oldest profession, which is sales. Right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, maybe you can edit that part out. But anyway.
No, that's fine. I get it.
So I got involved. I was working for a company based in Michigan, in Detroit. And I literally would be on the road 4 days a week. It was not uncommon for me to put 50 to 60,000 miles a year on a car.
Wow.
My friends would say, Dean, there's plenty of business here in Columbus. So I ended up working ultimately for a family-based business, but I was not a part of the family. And I knew that when the kids took over, we would have issues because they expected the respect that their old man had earned. So I found this opportunity, so to speak, air quote opportunity, and got involved. Now, fortunately, my wife was fully employed at that time, had the benefits, had the salary, and literally hung up my shingle one day and said, let's give this thing a go. Little did I know, sort of my getting into AmSpirit or getting into networking at the time. I was at the gym early one morning back in the days when I used to go to the gym more often, and met a woman on the treadmill, I think it was, and we were talking about what's your business. And I told her what I was starting, and she says, well, you probably need a CPA. And I'm like, I guess I do. Well, let me introduce you to one. So she introduced me to the CPA, and the CPA told her about my business. And she says, oh, I've got this group of people that get together to talk about networking and business. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but sure, I'll check it out because you're my CPA. And if you're the CPA, I got to do what you say, or else I could be in other worldly issues. So that's really sort of how it started.
And that was AmSpirit, or what was Network Professionals?
Well, it was Network Professionals at the time. And I remember the very first time I showed up to a meeting, it was snowing like crazy. And I'd put it off for so long. And I says, gosh darn it, I'm just going to show up. And I get there, and there's the area director, me, and a woman, I don't remember her name, but she was a realtor. And it was the only three of us. And I showed up because I didn't know that there was a policy that if the Columbus City schools were closed that day, there was no meeting.
Right.
They closed that day. I didn't know the policy because I never attended before, but I guess the rest is history.
And there you are in the organization. And obviously you've done a lot through the organization and generated a lot of business through that. But what other sorts of things have you done over the years to kind of get yourself out there? I think it's all connected, but
it really is all connected. I mean, literally the very first client that I received or that I got through the organization or from the organization, or even the first client, was a dentist that was in the chapter that I was in. And then, really just builds from there. The thing I've learned most about networking is that you need to do what you say you're going to do. Because if you don't, people are going to talk about you, but it's not what you want them to say.
Right.
And you just really, really, really have to focus on providing not only a great product, but probably even better service. And it's just what I totally impart on people is just to be present, just to be there. And I know people are, AmSpirit, so at least the chapters that I'm involved in are morning chapters, and I like to sleep in as much as the next person. But I say that the single largest referral I ever got in this organization came from a guest visited one time. And if I had decided that morning not to get up, not to, sleep in or whatever, my business would be very, very different today if I didn't attend that one meeting.
Yeah.
And so not only did my payment processing business go crazy. I mean, in the very beginning, I didn't even do credit cards. I was doing check processing type thing. It's not even really available anymore, which was the early entree into ACH transactions for small to medium sized businesses. And people would say, "What about credit cards?" And I'm like, I don't want to deal with that. Call so and so. And after a while, I sort of had my V8 moment, hit myself on the head, and I'm like, what am I doing giving this business away? So then I found a solution for it, and that's worked. But through networking, I got involved with investment real estate. So now my wife and I own properties, a lot of properties here in Ohio and several out of state, which has done great things for us. Had the opportunity to get involved in your organization. And it's 1,000% networking. I'm just never going to have the advertising budget that other competitors in my field have in payment processing. And this just works if you work it.
Yeah. At what point did you realize that relationships were it? Because
When I got married. No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah. No. The relationships. I guess when I realized that I didn't have to just always talk to the gatekeeper and always try to come up with some creative way. We were talking beforehand, before the session started today, about people that are really, really pushy and have to be, because they have to get their message heard. And with relationships, you've sort of already breached that. You've already gotten the initial relationship. Now, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to sell them your product or service. It just means that you're past the gatekeeper. They've agreed to talk to you because either you were referred to them by somebody, or you met them at a networking event, and you just ultimately, you're starting slightly ahead of somebody that's just doing a cold call.
Yeah, my analogy for it is, the shortest distance between 2 points is A to B, right? And that's what people think. Okay, I've got to go to get to B, and between A and B is that gatekeeper. And I always say, well, you've got to go to C, D, E, F, and G introduce you to B, or it might be Z or whatever. But it's not the quickest way, but it's the most efficient way.
Well, you know that I'm such a huge golfer, which, wink, wink. I don't play golf, but I really love your program about when you tee off, you're not expecting to get it in the hole on the very first shot. It takes steps to get there. So it's not, again, just because you get the referral doesn't guarantee you're going to get the business. Just trying to put you in the right place at the right time. If you do the things you say you're going to do, you're going to further help yourself by getting ultimately to where you want to go.
Yeah. It's, that's really the name of the game. And I think that's a hard thing for people to get their head around. What I love about your story is, you're just living proof that that's how it works. I don't think you've ever really had a point where you were out there cold calling. Maybe early on you did.
Early on, and when I had some reps come on and want to work with me, and they're like, let's go cold calling. And I'm like, oh, great. I'm really excited. And, and I wasn't, because I was just saying, you got to get in the networking thing. But again, I didn't advertise my business. I joined some chambers in the early days. And basically, the only reason I joined them is that they came to me and they say, Dean, it would look really bad if we went outside the chamber for you to do our processing. So could you please join? I'm like, okay. But I didn't work it. It wasn't my thing. I like the single seat, no competition within the chapter, and the know, like, and trust.
When you were growing up, what'd you want to be? Obviously not payroll processing, or I shouldn't say.
Well, my mom tells
you went off to college and you had this media career in mind. Obviously that didn't go anywhere.
Didn't go anywhere. Yeah. But the face for radio, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
No, I guess, my dad was really, really successful in corporate America. And I always said, if I could be half as successful as he was, then I'd be okay. He worked for a local company here in Columbus, retired at an earlier age, and played his golf the way he wanted to play his golf. And he's still around, still playing golf and still doing his thing. So that was, I guess I didn't really have something specific that I wanted to do. Whatever it was going to be, I just wanted to be at least half as successful as he's been in his business.
Well, I think entrepreneurship is opening up more than it ever has. For whatever reason, I can't explain it, but there aren't as many corporate jobs.
I completely agree. Don't get me. My mom and dad have been incredibly supportive in believing me and wanting for the best for me. But yeah, when I came to them, heck, I'd been married a year and a half. I took my wife to this opportunity session so we could learn more about this thing I was getting into. Been married, again, year and a half. And I go to my parents and I say, I'm not asking for a loan, but I'm just telling you, I'm going to put down 20 grand to get involved in this thing. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And, my wife's parents were the same way. they work the corporate job, they move up, which was fantastic. But then when they retire, they get their gold watch and then they go on. But I think, to your point, there's a lot of corporate jobs out there, but I don't think the opportunity for advancement is there anymore, because people, when they don't move up quick enough to their terms, they just move on.
Yeah.
And I think that your parents, my parents, were the kind of people that they would get involved in something. And if he was going to work there, he was going to give it his 1,000% every day.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't see that much right now.
Yeah. Well, my father was a college professor. My mom was a teacher. And, so becoming entrepreneurial, and my brother and sister this all happened at the same time, like the same month, same year. They were just like going crazy. But I think small business ownership was probably a thing for like immigrants, because can't find a job, other people, you're a policeman, you're a teacher, you're an accountant, you're a firefighter, you're in the military service, you're doing something along those lines. And entrepreneurship was for people who just really didn't have another choice. And now it's really become a choice. So,
oh yeah, sure. And it's the way I think a lot of people are now are like, I can do this better. I can do this better than what I'm currently getting. And heck yeah. I mean, I lament the fact that I didn't get a lot of the education that I wish I had gotten, specifically in math, which my math was always my worst subject. And then now my mom and dad are saying, you deal with so much math in your job right now, or in your opportunity right now. And I do, but it's the math that I want to learn.
Yeah.
Not algebra and geometry and statistics and all that stuff. So now seeing the opportunities that kids have or people have with new tech and math, it's awesome. So I do feel like I missed out on that, but I'm done okay.
Yeah. Well, I think the math you do it's somewhat repetitive. I mean, the numbers are different, but the formulas are all the same. So
for sure.
That was the hard part about math in school. It's like you were learning whole new concepts that may or may not apply to what it is you're doing. So it's different. It's totally
I use geometry on my dad's pool table in his house. That's about the only extent of geometry.
Yeah. If you had $1 million, how would you invest in your business?
Well, I referenced earlier that I got involved in real estate, and that was something that I'm not an agent or anything like that, but there was a member in our chapter that talked about this real estate stuff all the time. And I mean, it was almost ad nauseum how much he talked about it. And I'm like, fine, show me what you got, Bob. Let's see what we can do. And he introduced me to a world of investment real estate, residential. I don't do commercial stuff. That just totally blew me away. So in answer to your question, if I had $1 million, I'd buy more houses. I would put that $1 million in other passive income investment opportunities is what I would do.
Sounds good. Well, let's shift gears real quick here. Talk about your business. What would be a good referral for you? And then how can people get a hold of you?
I guess what I do, I mentioned payment processing. And when I talk about my 30-second, 60-second commercial, it's, I help companies accelerate their cash flow. And every bank that's out there can sort of do what I do. What I bring to the table is service after the sale. And I know that sounds sort of trite, but because a lot of companies, service after the sale, we do that too. But usually when you're dealing with a financial institution, they'll have a department that handles payment processing, but they don't do it themselves. They have one rep that covers 15 branches, and you'll talk to them. And then once you're set up, you'll never talk to that person again. So what I like to do is, again, be the service after the sale. I have an 800 number that goes to New York, I think is where it goes, Tennessee, I can't remember. And they're there 24/7. But at the end of the day, if you're not happy with what they're telling you, you contact me. Because again, I want to be there. I want to help you. And I love being the advocate for the small to medium-sized business. Now, don't get me wrong. Ohio State University calls me, Cardinal Health calls me, wants to talk about credit card processing. I am happy to talk to them. Realistically, though, it's companies like yours, Frank, and other the auto repair shops that are around and dealing with those, because I think a lot of those companies just get forced down. Oh, you bank with us? You must do this. And they really don't have to.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question, but I like to be able to provide the service, the equipment, the education, because it's the merchants that accept the credit cards that are responsible to make sure that data is secure. And if it's not secure and there's a hack or there's a breach or something, it's the merchant that can be held liable for that. And there's not a lot of small businesses out there that can handle the punitive fines that Visa and MasterCard can charge. So I want to make sure they're educated as much as they can be or want to be to protect that. As far as how to get a hold of me, again, I'm not a marketing guy, so my website is currysolutions.com, Curry, my last name, solutions.com. We do everything involved in payment processing, whether it's electronic funds transfer or ACH. We handle, I don't do software, but I integrate with software companies. More and more businesses are getting away from just the standard credit card machine sitting on a desk, and they're running their businesses through CRMs, other softwares, and oftentimes we can integrate into those services to make it a better process.
Okay. I will get your web address in the show notes. I appreciate your time today.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't know what to expect. A little nervous, as I told you, going into this thing, but networking is where it's at. And my business has definitely been better because I know you and your organization.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.